afternoon. It is Shirley with Spirits of Matter, and we are on a Sol Day Venus hour. So, the ascendant is ruled by Mars, which is in Leo, and the day is ruled by Leo, with the Sun in Cancer in the ninth house, midheaven right on Venus, okay, separating from Venus. That is tightly squaring Uranus. So happy Venus square to everybody. And when am I saying happy Venus Uranus square? This is where Venus in Leo, although in her shade period, is getting dramatic, expressive, and is being amped up by Uranus. So we get even more of a rebellious streak to this very visible, very outspoken, very energetic Venus. Right before her shade. So while it's not the best time to start a new relationship, we definitely do get excited about things that we're gonna take from that into the future. So this is Venus hour, and the moon is in the second house, the 27th degree, so separating from my midheaven. That's why I felt like, oh, I want to record something right now. And it's trining, separating from a trine to Venus and Mars. Yeah, there's a lot of like aspects that are, oh well, it is about to sextile, to trine the nodes. Okay, to trine and sextile the nodes. So that's interesting, and it does square Neptune retrograde. So that can give us a desire to escape somewhere or to dream about something, some ideal, something, ideal liberation, ideal whatnot. And that's the spirit of the day. So happy Venus square Uranus. And the topic of this episode is about the lunar mansion of the day. So for the nakshatra, I already know it is a Ashwini nakshatra, which is about healing, and you can get more by K. Carpiel's Indian astrology videos or in the Asclepius series by Caitlin Koppak. But for the lunar mansion, so let's check what is the lunar mansion for today and see what does it symbolize. While I'm doing this, I want to talk about yesterday's lunar mansion and the synchronicities that I had. So yesterday was the lunar mansion of the hunting. And I woke up and I saw a post by Hawk on Twitter, and it was a post about the discovery of women hunters. He's saying that the hunters-gatherers myth was a myth, and there were many women who were also hunters. Now that was pretty lovely, as the moon was in the end of Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken. No, the moon was... there was something that was triggered by Scorpio. There's something that was triggered by Mars, but I don't remember. But the thing is that it was related somehow to Venus being in Leo. I don't remember how now. So that was the synchronicity that was like, oh, women hunters. Okay. So that was accentuated yesterday. And this was the hunting. I'm trying to see if I've seen anything more. It was about protecting the house, increasing the crops. I want to talk about it. Okay, somebody, it was a bad for relationship mention. Okay, and I saw on Twitter, somebody had her man cheating on her. She published this credit card. Okay, I had to interfere because I worked for a credit card company, and I had to warn people from using it. But she published this credit card with the CVV, with everything, and the name of the person. She said, well, the guy cheated on me, buy yourself whatever. And I could not help thinking how the point of destruction of the wealth of others, and that being bad for relationship and good for like discord, was so coinciding with yesterday's lunar mansion. And I also had to warn people, like, you don't want big banks after you for, using, so like this is a criminal felony. Okay, you don't want to do that. But it kind of reminded me of a story. When I worked for a credit card company, we had a person that was sitting in jail, and every once in a while he would order himself some pizza from the credit card of the judge. And as a credit card company, there's nothing we could do. It's a story that was running in the departments. There's nothing we could do but block the card and manufacture a new card. And then he would get on this new card and he would order himself. That's all he did. He ordered himself pizza. He was not doing anything much. He just wanted to show that, oh, I can do that. Like a trickster. So I thought I'd tell you this story. But since you don't want to end up in jail, please, if somebody does such a thing or you run into such a thing, I know it can be tempting and you could think, oh, they did a felony, what am I, but you don't want to get your ass in trouble. Now let's see for today's lunar mansion. It's the 22nd lunar mansion. No, 21st lunar mansion that runs from 17 Sagittarius to 0 Capricorn, and it's called, this is a site called Magic and Mastery that did a great job of collecting the information about the lunar mansions and bringing it, kind of summarizing it in a way that's very readable. So thank you. And this mansion is named the Closed Door. He said, I nicknamed this mansion the Closed Door. When the moon is here, it's auspicious to end situations that need ending. So this is Al Balda. Al Balda, I guess it means door. Okay, oh, the city. Al Balda, the city. Okay, Baladi is the country or the city, but okay, whatever. So it signifies a closed door, it's fit for ending situation, walking away and closing that damn door behind us. It kind of is where Christopher Warnock says, when a door closes and a window opens, you got to pay attention to that window that opens. Okay? Don't focus on trying to open this door that closed in front of you, but try to open a window. See where the window is already open for you. And this is what this nakshatra is, this lunar mansion is about. So seek closure and arrangements that are no longer working, resign from a job, divorce. Do not dwell on the past or start partnerships. And partnerships are partnerships, not just romance. Okay? So, astrologers throughout the ages have commented on the meaning of the lunar mansions. Here's what they wrote about the 21st lunar mansion. Al-Biruni, 11th century. Only now I come to think that 11th century was the same time of Maimonides. So I need to kind of think about that. Al-Balada, an area of the heaven behind Sagittarius, devoid of stars and compared to a desert or to a gap between the eyebrows. So the gap between the eyebrows, I think they refer to the third eye. The stars which border it on the west from the tresses of Sagittarius are called Al-Quilada, or the necklace. Indian astrology, Aben Ragul, I hope I was pronouncing it right? Also 11th century. Good for starting any building, for sowing, for buying land or lands or livestocks. Okay, if you want to sell me some land. For buying and making women's jewelries and clothes. Indifferent for journeys. So after a couple of lunar mansions that were not so good for trying on new clothes, this is a good time to try new clothes, especially women's jewelries. If you buy cattle, then buying lands. So still a good for building. I think all the lunar mansions around Sagittarius are good for construction. Okay, the foundations of something. I don't know why, but that is so. Dorotheus. A woman who is divorced or widowed would not marry again. Okay, so if you get divorced, it can be that the lifestyle you will have will not include the matrimony or something like that. Indifferent for slaves bought, since they will think much of themselves and will not humble themselves to their masters. Okay, this is where people still want to be self-made. They want to be free. Because you can imagine it's not a good time for subordinates. And I would say slaves are probably what modern employees, because modernly it's modern slavery. So it's not a good time to hire an employee, I guess. I don't know. I think in general, whatever. I'm a freedom seeking person. I got my meat heaven in this lunar mansion. Okay. The 21st mansion is Albeda. This is from the Picatrix, 11th century. The 11th century produced a lot of stuff. Okay. It's quite interesting. The 21st mansion is Albeda, and it is for destruction. When the moon has passed around this mansion, fashion an image of a man having two faces, with one facing forward and one facing behind. Sense it with sulfur. I recommend you to not burn sulfur and carabe, and say you back to leave the place where you are and destroy them. Then place the image of a small bag and place sulfur and carabe with it, along with some hair, and bury it in a place where you wish, and it shall be as you requested. Know that the tobacco is the name of the Lord of this mansion. Okay, then again, we have an instruction for destructive magic. Okay. Now, another person who had his mid-heaven in this lunar mansion, and right where I have mine, is Joseph Stalin. Okay, now Joseph Stalin was betrayed by Hitler, but I did a synastry for Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler. If you want to watch it, if you're so inclined and entertained, I kind of saw that Hitler betrayed Stalin, but it kind of like you leave first because otherwise the other person would do it. Okay, Stalin would have betrayed Hitler, and the way Russia backed down, okay, whenever land was conquered, they were basically destroying the entire land. Okay, in Hebrew we call it Adamah Charucha. It's basically the land that is ravished, and so they destroy the soil so that when the conquerors come, they can't do anything with that soil. Yep, and that was the strategy. So when you think about this, this destruction, and literally what it says, you leave the place, you say leave the place where you are and destroy them. Okay, so you withdraw back and destroy them. And that's what Russia did under Stalin's regime. Probably was not the only one, but I could not help but think about it. And Stalin had his midheaven right in this lunar mansion. Okay, it's not only darkness. I suggest if you do have midheaven on the galactic center, do check Lada Dunchevas insight around this. You can absolutely choose the light and choose light. Okay, I'm speaking from experience as a person who's actively doing that. But this is also something that you need to know. Is a two-faced person. Okay, if you give, and then I was thinking today. Now, when I come to synchronicities, today I was thinking about betrayal and understanding that if something has gone wrong, if a certain loyalty has gone wrong, somebody's doing things that are atrocities against humanity, it's okay to betray them. A lot of crime is based on trust. Okay, you have to keep it a secret. You have to do this. Now there are good secrets, but and there are great trusts. But when that trust or that camaraderie is based on atrocities against humanity that you can't expose because you want to be one of the guys, then betrayal is actually the good step to take. Okay, and this is also a teaching of this nakshatra. Okay, it was not when you hear destruction, it's not destruction made for for the sake of destruction. This was stuff that was taught for people who were leaders. It was not for the common person. And so it was supposed to serve the people and to serve some higher, higher vantage point. So it's not about destruction for the sake of destruction. It's about the destruction, if we talked yesterday about the destruction of the wealth that is not ethically sourced, that is built on exploitation, then here we have the two-faced person. Here, the two-faced person who betrays that which is exploitative. Okay, this is what it can be. It can absolutely be Stalin and Hitler. Okay, but I'm here to offer another point of view, and another opportunity to see these things. Because here we have the person that can be two-faced, that can have a face with the enemy and the face that betrays the enemy in favor of humanity. So, from Henry Cornelius Agrippa, 16th century, Al-Bedach, the desert, favors harvests, money, buildings, travelers, causes divorce, the destruction of somebody. A man with double countenance, okay, before and behind. So it's kind of like it can be interpreted as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It can also be interpreted as a spy or as someone who is simply two-faced. And a lot of diplomats really need to have this. A lot of leaders of nations really need to have this. You need to be able to toss that loyalty, to toss that which no longer serves in a spark of the moment when it's right. Okay? And yes, of course, that can be misled, that can be misguided, that can be, done in a way that's not productive. And you think about divorce. Okay? Because what I see, this lunar mansion is about divorcing or severing ties with that which is exploitative, with that which is unhealthy. And so if you need to divorce in this case, to walk out, you'll be able to do so, to put an end to what's no longer serving. Yeah, this is the great nakshatra to get rid of it. You might want to get rid of an addiction. Okay? You might want to get rid of a relationship that's no longer serving. You might want to get rid of a pattern within yourself, certain values, certain ideas. I no longer talk about this. I no longer relate to this. I want to get rid of certain habits. Okay? I'm no longer taking part in this. If you think about quitting smoking, okay, you gotta turn that cigarette off, and that's that. For some people, that's how it works. With this nakshatra, it can work like that, especially now with Saturn retrograde. It allows you to kick out anything that's not a part of your life anymore. This misbehavior, and it can be by you, okay? This misbehavior by me, to me, is not a part of my life anymore. I sever ties with that. I close this door. Okay? That door, when I used to take part in that, when I used to enable that, I close that door on me. And I close that door, and anything that exploitative, I close that door, and you see a window opens like that. Okay? And this is where the windows will open. You might not start something new right now, but you already see, as you close the door, if you slam the door and say, I'm not with it. And that can be your own, eventually, it's in more cases than not, it's our own patterns. Okay? It's our own enabling patterns that allow us to mistreat us. In many cases, I'm not talking about, I'm recovering from violence, okay? I definitely am aware that people being dispowered is not just a social, it's not just an inner construct that this is not gaslighting, okay? But I'm talking about the times where it is up to us. There's something I can do today to close that door of abuse, to close that door of, to slam that door in the face of anything exploitative, even if it is a pattern in me. And bam, you see a window opens. And I'm sitting here in front of an open window as I'm saying that, actually. Okay? So this is the door slam. You get the fuck out of there. And in many cases, it's a pattern within you that you just slam the door. No longer doing that. No longer tending to that. This is no longer a part of me. You get that closure. You slam that door. Now a window opens. There's another opportunity. And therefore, this closed door is signifying of basically creating the gap that allows for opportunity to come in. You might not take this opportunity right now. You might not grab it in both hands right now, but you definitely can see the open window. You look for the open window. Perhaps you'll see it in the next lunar mansion. But this is where we are today. Vivian Robson, 20th century. Sagittarius, speech Sagittarius, Albada, the city or district. Favorable for harvest, gain, buildings, and travelers, but causes divorce. With Moon here, take medicine, navigate, is the first lunar mansion after a while that we are encouraged to navigate, and put on new clothes. Okay, so you definitely want to be wearing something new if you have today. I got myself some new shoes. Literally the previous one broke, and these shoes are actually dark blue. And Saturn is in Pisces, so Pisces ruling the feet. Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now I'm getting Saturn scholar shoes for my, Pisces, and a quite big one. Because I want to allow for my toes to spread naturally. I'm healing, correcting the structure of my toes. So yeah, that was my new clothes. So it's good for navigations and taking medicine. And there's another synchronicity that I thought about, was that I think I already talked about that yesterday, where on the one hand we're being marketed certain medications in ways and with filters that do not even allow us to use them properly. Because recently Australia approved psychedelics. Okay, but if you don't know how to use psychedelics, and even Terence McKenna, that set he is the founder of why we even discuss psychedelics today in Western countries. Okay? What he said, if you want to do psychedelics, you got to start at the library and stay there for quite a while before you even try. Okay? If you don't know how to do that right, you can have a lot of experiences that I call non-volitional, non-dual experiences. There's a range of experience, from near-death experience or astral sex experience or lucid dreaming experience, and conventional medicine call this psychosis. So if you report somebody that you had troubles, they say there's no problem, there's a pill for that. And that's an antipsychotic, which includes anti-blockers. It's also given in case of heart diseases and after chemotherapy. And unfortunately, what it does is causes the non-volitional muscles to not contract. And one major non-volitional muscle that we have in our body is the heart. You're just dead. You're just dead. And it's going to be very difficult to prove that it was from the pill. Okay? But mostly first, people can't poop, they can't digest food, they become very hungry because they can't absorb vitamins. You have to have muscles contracting to absorb, to discern, do something. It's like a little explosion there. And that doesn't happen, and then there's a heart palpitation issue, and it's like, oh, it's probably the pill. But then the person's dead. So, and on the other hand, when I talk about medicine, and I said it in a video probably yesterday, when I was writing my thesis proposal, and I was looking into the philosophy of medicine. So I said, I got to learn about all types of medicines. But it was actually by a conversation that I was having with a doctor. So I was teaching German, just teaching, citing the basics that I knew. I said, if I can teach the basics that I know, then I can make some money. And I was teaching this young, this lady doctor, and they were buying a house in Germany, and they needed some German, somebody to help them, not with translating, that I couldn't do, but definitely with the language, because she knew how to read, but to speak was difficult. And as I was speaking about my thesis proposal, She has a colleague that was doing research on cancer. And of course, with cancer, terminal ill people, you can do a lot of things because this is the frontiers of science. This is where it's ethical to try things that you wouldn't have otherwise tried on people who are not in life risk. Here's just ethics of medicine. And they tried a pill. Okay, they tried some chemistry. It caused remission in terminally ill patients. Patients who were declared terminally ill. Now, what's remission? Remission means when the disease detracts. Okay, it's kind of like you become more healthy, but they call it remission. This is just the term. And suddenly, the budget stopped for this research. You say, why would the budget stop for this research when we discovered something that saves lives? Okay? And I want you to hear about this too. Because it's not that medicine doesn't work. It's that there's a certain filter where something works, it's being stopped. And when I tried to reach researchers that were in these researches, okay, I couldn't reach them. And one very plausible situation is that they are being silenced, that they can't even speak to me. So a part of it is patents, but the other part of it is that they can't really speak to me and they're silenced. There's just no way for me to get this information. If I don't get information, I'm only allowed to assume that the person is being silenced and cannot speak. Otherwise, there should have been transparency. It's our help. Okay, we all pay health insurance. Even when you get welfare, they take off the health insurance. And you're paying it from your own taxes, because chances are you are working and your taxes makes compound interest that only large organization like the country can make. So another synchronicity that I have with this is medicine. And in here, not just learning about, why medicine doesn't work, but actually learning that medicine does work, but you need to have the right medicine being supplied to the people with the way to apply it correctly. Psychedelics can be great, but if you don't know how to do this, and it takes quite a lot of knowledge, then you can get non-volitional, non-dual experiences, which will get you to be diagnosed as psychotic. Okay, the same psychiatrist that diagnoses you as psychotic, they go with their spouse or the girlfriend or the lover to workshops to teach them how to have energetic penetration. But if you say somebody violated your energetic boundaries, you're psychotic, take a beta blocker. Okay, that's what we're dealing with. And so what I want you to take from this is like, yes, there are medicines that do work. It's not that medicine is an illusion or that medicine is hogwash or that you're being fooled when you're looking for the magic pill. Some medicines do actually work. What are the side effects? We don't know because they're not even being marketed to the people. If something causes remission to terminally ill cancer patients, why is it not in the markets? Okay, that's what this teaching is about. So, new buildings, I don't know, foundations of something, putting foundations, buying land, again, I'm open to suggestions. Harvest, so if you have a garden, now it's a good time to harvest some stuff for yourself. Not at my garden today, so I won't be able to do that. You make talismans to safeguard travelers. You might want to do that if you have a good election. Protect the house and increase your crops. And it's also good for travel, earnings, and recovery from illness. So this is yet another nakshatra that is good for recovery from illness. We had one in Scorpio, I think the middle lunar mansion of Scorpio, and again I say nakshatra. This is nakshatra Ashvini, and nakshatra Ashvini is very much associated. It's called the 1,000 doctors, and Ashvinis are doctors in India, if I got it right. Thank you, Caitlin Kapak, or Astin Kapak. I'm not sure which one of them wrote that. So that is very much associated with healing from illness. Again, slamming the door on exploitation is healing illness per se. This is a mansion of endings. This is Christopher Warnock, 21st century. This is the time to accept that the path one has traveled has reached its end. And it's happening every lunar cycle, so every 28 days or so. Okay, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that your 20 years old marriage is ending today. No, there's something that needs something small. Okay, maybe you finished writing something. We are playing an end game. It's time to cut our losses. We bear in mind that as painful as endings are, they are necessary to clear the field for new growth. Okay, so slamming the door, creating that gap where something new can grow. It's also the harvest. Okay, we harvest and then we cut our losses. Maybe some of the peppers were not, didn't get to ripen. Maybe I saw that one of my potatoes got rotten. I watered it too much, and I'm still learning how to build up soil. So I had to cut my losses. I had to apologize to this crop and apologize to the soil so I can learn from my mistakes and do better next time. We bear in mind that as painful as endings could be, they are necessary to clear the field for new growth. As the proverb says, when God shuts the door, he opens the window. Our task now is to find that window. So symbolically, I'm sitting right now in front of an open window. Okay, so I invite you today to take a look at what door needs to shut. If a door is slammed in your face today, figuratively or literally, there's an open window. And this is a day where, if you dislike something and you say, I'm shutting that door, you're going to find something you do like. Now, if it's about relationships, I know this causes divorce. Venus right now is in her shade period, and that means that it's not a good time to begin to date someone. Definitely not to take a commitment. Because Venus is in her shade period, I would even go so far as say, if that's not violence or exploitation, hold your horses. Because you're being called to end something, you think, oh, this is my relationship, this is my marriage, this is my partnership. And maybe that's true. But if it's not about, if there's no exploitation going on there, if there's no, this is about ending exploitation, simply put. Ending illness is ending exploitation. Okay, never mind. Like you get apply that and you see what I'm talking about. And if there's no exploitation that you're ending in your relationship because it was not exploitative, hold your horses. Venus is in her shade period. You might have some troubles, some disagreements. You might have some dispute. Maybe there's some things that need to end. But I would not go, and Venus is squaring Uranus. So it's very disruptive. A lot of people can be tempted to just slam the door on this person. Just slam the door on this person. And again, if they're not being violent to you, or you to them, okay? Obviously, if you've got to get to the point where you want to slam the door at somebody's face, you need to get out. You take your space. You get out of there. Okay, it's also good to not be the exploitative person. It's okay, and you're gonna find a better opportunity for you to be a better person. And it's not a shame. It's not a shame to admit that you desire to be a better person. It's not a shame to become a better person. But the thing is, if nobody's exploiting anybody in this relationship, and there's just this, oh, I'm sick of them doing this, or I don't like the way they chew, or Venus is in her shape here, just squaring Uranus. Hold your horses, take some space from each other. That's not what this ending is about. Okay? If it's that, you're going to know about this because Venus is going to go square in Uranus, then retrograde and square in Uranus, then direct and square in Uranus. Okay? Wait, darlings, wait. But if there is exploitation, that in Venus square in Uranus can give you that, bam, I slam that door. It's exploding out of this relationship, blowing the bridges, blowing up these bridges, burning these bridges. That's a no. Okay? If you're in a position where you need to do that, this is a great day to do so. You'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body. Your body is exploding this thing out. That's a no. That won't happen with me. That's disrespectful. That I won't take it. Slam that door, and you guess what? You open this gap. And something that's that one. Okay? But because Venus is in her shade period, right now it's not the time to walk into a new opportunity. Right now it's the time to pay attention to that window. Okay? And allow this gap. And say if it's a relationship or a partnership or a business partnership, you just broke out of something, take your gap. Take your gap. Be in the gap. Be in the void. We're encouraged to do so. Be in the void. Because that pattern will allow for something to grow and to stay in your life. So, yes, a door is shut, or you're shutting the door, or somebody's shutting this door in your face. Yes, it's good to notice that window. There's a window there. Okay? But right now I'm holding this gap, so I'm allowing the clearing of pages to go, so that I could open up, so that I can allow in the opportunity for what I do like, for what is truly nourishing, what is truly sustainable, for something beautiful to grow within me, and something beautiful to grow beside me. Business, romantic, in terms of healing, medicine, land, economy, land, and traveling, even traveling. Okay, it can be a travel opportunity. That's pretty much it. So this is Albalda, or the closed door. Again, from the site magicandmastery.com. Wonderful source that I found, and I'm learning this lunar mansions myself right now with you. As for magic, so we had the two-faced talisman. It's like destruct that. I don't think I am in the position to lead you about the path of destruction, because this is, you think about the goddesses of destruction, we think about Algol, we think about Kali or Durga, as Indian goddess of destruction, is the fire of destruction. You think about malefic planets, okay, like Mars, like Saturn, ending things, Mars severing ties with the unjust. I don't feel that I'm in the position to guide you through such a process, or to give you an election for such a talisman, because I don't know how to do this myself, okay, in a way that I can generalize for the people. I talked about non-specific return to senders and non-specific psychic protection in another video, and how important it is to be non-specific both in your manifestations and in your return to sender, because the astral world is crazy. People are shape-shifting, people are trying to take up identities, people are just like, don't get sucked into that. You need to slam that door on exploitation in general. Slam that door on exploitation. Invite in something truly nourishing, something beautiful growing and sustaining. Okay? Simple as that. Touch the essence. As for the moon, well, with this, if you want like protection, the ascendant will be on the moon in an hour, 2 hours or so. Then you can pick yourself an interesting election, but then Jupiter will be in the 6th house. So I don't know how to work with that correctly. I don't like, it's just sixth house is both health, but it's also open enemies. So maybe you can do talismans for healing. But in the sixth house is also open enemies. I don't know how to mitigate that. I'm not experienced in giving you like instructions for that. Another option is we have with the ascendant in Pisces, and then we have to kind of put it in the middle of Pisces, so it's between Saturn and Neptune. And you gotta see with your, I'm in the Middle East. You need to adjust it to your own, and that will put the moon in the 10th house, which is another you want it on an angular house, which is supportive of public reputation, of careers. If you have the moon Mercury rule, the ascendant Mercury rule, which is the Virgo, then the moon is going to be in the 4th house if you want to protect your property, maybe grow your crops, I don't know, or buy land. Maybe that is Mercury buying moon, land, 4th house. It's going to be both housing, but it can also be land, real estate. That's one of the options for, for protection. What we got, the instruction we got was about destruction, and therefore I don't feel comfortable with it's not that I don't feel comfortable with encouraging that. I already told you how that can be productive. It's just that I don't know how to do this correctly, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm learning this myself. And generally we want to learn how to cast a space, learn how to banish whatever needs to be banished, and then increase on stuff. Okay, we want to work with something benefic, rather than, but the protection talisman can also be good. So you can go about it in your own way. Let me know if you have some experience with that. A great help with Lunar Mansion talismans elections is medieval astrology. You can look for medieval astrology on YouTube or on Google. And if you want to buy actual talismans, I know Christopher Warnock sells Lunar Mansion talismans, and you can follow him or join the newsletter, and you get updates for all the talismans for the Lunar Mansions. And the Lunar Mansion for this talisman is Asclepius by Sphere and Sudbury. The later Asclepius, just make sure you save me some, because I'm going to order it in the coming months. So don't sell this out. But this is where we have this moon on this Lunar Mansion that's very associated with healing, the slam door on any exploitation, basically. But that's not how they phrased it. You want to go to Sphere and Sundry and see it there. Nice. I have my own midheaven on this nakshatra. So yeah, that's something. But also Joseph Stalin had, the very same degree for the midheaven. And we hopefully are distinct enough. But the interesting about Joseph Stalin is the theme of betrayal. Eventually, he did not find doctors that could treat him. But there was genealogy to that. I don't have any reading for that, but magically it is good for healing. Not necessarily for being a healer, but for receiving healing. And that's how we want to work with it. So yeah, thank you for watching. And of course you can subscribe to me. I don't have an orderly mailing list, but you can leave your email address and I can collect it and I can give you some information if you like it, which you can unsubscribe whenever you want. That's me doing my side of the marketing. I do have a Patreon somewhere, but I think really the best way is to, I have my email for the PayPal if you want to leave me some one-off donation. And if you like this content, you can subscribe and you can press like, you can leave a comment and support the algorithm. And if I got 1,000 subscribers and some enough watch time, that means that I can begin to make money. I know it's not a lot, but that's one way that I can, make money doing something that's a contribution to the world. So, yeah. Have a great day.